Well, one quarterback you can't put in that conversation. Your quarterback, Mark Sanchez. We'll make the transition over to the AFC East now. So, Jets, not feeling so well this year. No running game to speak of. You know, Braylon Edwards, gone. Santonio Holmes is doing okay. Mark Sanchez isn't. What's wrong with your team?
There's nothing wrong with this team. I'm gonna say that right now.
I can leave a lot wrong with your team.
Okay. There's the thing with Mark Sanchez. And first off, I have to say this. I don't care about the criticism. I don't care what anybody says about him. Mark Sanchez is one of the toughest, not just quarterbacks, players in the NFL.
I'll give you that.
For everything that happens to him, he gets cheap shotted and hard a lot. And a lot of it's not called.
I'll give it to you.
He gets right back up, and he continues to play. He had his nose broken against the Baltimore Ravens in that game.
And he
finished that game. He finished that game. As terrible of a game as that was for the Jets, where he could have mailed it in and said, I'm gonna take the time off, and I'm gonna come back next week, put Mark Brunell in. He went out there, and he tried to keep the Jets in that game with a broken nose.
Yep.
Okay? The hit by Barnes this past weekend was atrocious. He deserves to get suspended for at least the remainder of this season.
He won't.
You know, that was an atrocious hit. That was a dirty play.
Yeah.
5 whistles blowing for 4 seconds before he hits Sanchez, and he pops him helmet to helmet. And Sanchez jumps right back up. But that was an atrocious hit.
That is what you got to credit Sanchez for.
I'm going to say this, though. All right. Just like Tim Tebow, Sanchez is a winner. But if you look at it, okay, this is going to happen to Tebow when he starts to lose. You're the quarterback. When something doesn't go right, aside from the head coach, you get scrutinized. Okay? Sanchez threw 4 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. He threw 180 yards. He threw 1 touchdown last week. He threw 200, just over 200 yards.
Right.
But he won. And people are still criticizing him. But look, he's gotten to 2 straight AFC title games.
But see, I can even stop you before you even get there. Here's what everyone will criticize Sanchez for, and they'll be okay with Tebow. No one expects Tim Tebow to be a 300-yard passer. No one took the Broncos' offense and said, you're going to be a passing offense. You didn't go out and get weapons for them to be a receiver like that.
Nobody expects Sanchez to be a 300-yard passing quarterback either.
Really? So going out and keeping Santonio Holmes, having a Dustin Keller,
you have to have weapons for when you throw.
The Broncos don't. What weapon do they have? Eric Decker? You're not going to convince me of this.
But he's emerged. Okay, the Jets had Santonio Holmes. They traded for him. Okay, the Jets had LaDainian Tomlinson out of the backfield.
Right.
Okay? They drafted Dustin Keller. All right, but if you look at it, Keller doesn't put up monster numbers. Santonio Holmes should be putting up monster numbers.
He should.
The Jets, but here's the thing, okay? The Jets and Rex Ryan, as much as I love Rex, okay, and you know how much I love Sexy Rexy, okay?
That I do.
The Jets claim that they're a running team.
They're not. And
they're not. That's the thing. They're a running team who tries to pass the ball. And you'll look at it, okay? Sanchez is so much more effective as a passing quarterback when you can move the pocket and when you can establish the play action. Okay? When you establish the running game and when you say you're going to run the ball, then do it. Because that's when he's at his most effective. When you come out a couple of weeks ago and you run and you run 9 of your first 13 plays are pass plays,
that's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Okay? And this is one of the big criticisms of Brian Schottenheimer, who's the offensive coordinator for the Jets.
He's got to go.
He's got to go.
It's terrible.
But he tries to be conservative, and then he does a complete 180 and dials it up and tries to be aggressive out of nowhere, and it never works.
Right.
You know, and And a few years ago, in Sanchez's rookie season, towards the end of the season, they had that whole red light, yellow light, green light offensive scheme where they would say, all right, we're going to open up the game in red light, which means we're going to run, we're going to establish a power running game, we're going to establish the play action, the short throws, and then if that becomes effective, then we're going to go to the yellow. So we're going to do, the medium throws, the 10 to 15 yard slants, and then if that starts to catch them off guard, then we're going to try and do a couple of double moves, shake somebody loose, and we're going to go big.
Right.
And Sanchez was very effective in that.
And he tried to change it.
But if you look at it now, another place that Sanchez is very effective is in the no huddle hurry up offense. He's very comfortable. He's very effective in that. But the thing is, it seems like they keep going back and forth between yes or no, should we trust him, shouldn't we trust him?
Right.
And if you read Rex Ryan's book, because Rex Ryan already wrote a book about being head coach of the New York Jets. If you read Rex Ryan's book, he says they fell in love with Sanchez the first moment they laid eyes on him in their tryouts.
Right.
Okay? And you look at what they gave up to trade up to get him, and you read it, and they say that Schottenheimer put Sanchez through every possible quarterback drill. They had him make every single throw they could possibly think of that he could come under pressure for in a game, and he passed with flying colors. So if he's that good of a quarterback, then why do you keep saying, well, we're going to take the reins off, but then 2 plays later, we're going to put the reins back on for another 15 plays, then we're going to take the reins off for 1 play, and then again in another 10 plays, we're going to take the reins off again. I mean, you can't mix it up like that.
I'm going to leave it at this, and then we're going to get to our picks of the week. Sanchez is not going to be good unless he has an offensive line, which he does not have this year.
And
not at all.
Years he's had a great offensive line.
Yep. Faneca was the biggest loss for him.
This year, the offensive line is suspect, and that's why they haven't been able to establish a running game.
Yep.
They established a running game against a bad team in Washington this past weekend. Sean Green had 88 yards and 3 touchdowns. Okay, but if you look at it, 2 of those touchdowns came in the last 7 minutes.
Right.
They need to. If the Jets team that played the last 7 minutes could play every single minute of every single quarter, both offensively and defensively, for the rest of the season, they'd get to the Super Bowl.